Okay, so you just got injured. What do I do now? The most common thing in these cases, whether we're talking about a simple ankle sprain or something like an Achilles rupture or an ACL reconstruction, is to do absolutely nothing at all. We know that rice is bullshit at this point. It's not a good way of going about things, and we've also started to understand on a broader level now that doing absolutely nothing is rarely ever the answer. And something I lean into all the time is avoidance is not a strategy. And this is why I get bent out of shape about these, kind of patchworked rehab or return to play programming cases where, we see somebody with a wrist injury and then they say, okay, well, let's just do lower body until the wrist is all the way better. For the common, typical, early phase novice strength coach or personal trainer, I understand where you're at, and this is not an indictment for that crowd. But for those who are, a little bit deeper into this field, working at the collegiate or the professional level, working at the, at the higher levels of this, we cannot see avoidance as being a pragmatic strategy here. The evidence on this and the research on this is becoming pretty palpable that we want to try to put stress and load through the injured site as absolutely early as possible. Jill Cook has done a tremendous amount of research on this. Keith Barr has a lot of great work that speaks to this. There's plenty of studies and people out there that have shown this. But effectively, the longer that we immobilize or that we avoid the injured site, the more we're going to have to effectively undo down the road. So some of the physiology behind this, we think about with the consequences of avoidance and complete rest or immobilization. We have a massive disruption to fluid dynamics. We have some pretty significant irregularities and impairments to collagen remodeling. We start to jeopardize the bone density, by not loading the site. The absence of stress on the bone becomes a consequential problem. And then we start to have some neurological and proprioceptive changes or deficits that can be much more difficult to correct or undo down the road. So if you just got injured, the best thing that you can possibly do is, in whatever capacity you're capable of, move. Doesn't have to be anything specific, doesn't have to be PT based, it doesn't have to be, anything in particular here. We want to just think about creating motion and having motion to the body. So if all you can do at the time is just walk, do chair-based squats, do some light TRX-based, lunges, then that's better than nothing. One is always greater than zero in these cases. Now, if you have a significant injury, obviously we need to get with a PT. We obviously need to get with somebody, and have some guidance along the way here. But again, the point still is reiterated where we want to make sure that when we are going to these people in these places, as an athlete or as a parent or an agent or as a consumer, what are they suggesting or recommending for you in these early phases? Because if their strategies are all passive-based modalities and they're just putting you on stem, they're throwing a heat pad on it, they're just having you do some passive band stretching, then that's probably not a good place to continue to go to for services. We should be looking at this as, what would we normally be doing right now at this point in the athletic calendar or sport calendar year, or within the training process? What would we normally be doing if we didn't have this injury? Although I'm injured at the time, I want to be as close to that as I possibly can. So there's a relative gap here, of course, but the point is we should not see it as being tremendously different or distant from what that actual plan should be. And this is what our philosophy has always been, is we want to put the athletes in the situation where we are replicating or performing as close to what they would normally be doing if the injury was not present.